Welcome on in, everybody, to another edition of the Porpoise Pod, a playoff edition of the Porpoise Pod. Your Miami Dolphins are heading to the postseason. Solana, you are boots on the ground at Hard Rock Stadium. How does it feel, man? It was a roller coaster today. 9-6 the final, and getting a little help from the Buffalo Bills, putting it on. McCorkle, how you feeling right now, man?
I guess we're supposed to be excited. Dolphins, first time in the playoffs since 2016. First time you have back-to-back-to-back winning seasons since 2001, 2, and 3.
Wow.
But why don't I feel excited? Why was this stadium not just roaring when you found out the Bills won the game and the Patriots lost? I think it's because everybody knows the inevitable doom that awaits you in Buffalo next week. But look, they got to the playoffs. They got this one done. So you have to feel happy for Skyler Thompson and Mike McDaniel. It wasn't pretty, but they got it done.
I think it was important. Like we talked about this going into the week. If you finish this off with another loss and no playoffs, or even getting the win and no playoffs, it just feels like it was all for nothing. And I think at least getting to this spot of you're in the postseason, you might have been here anyway. You know, like you might have been in the spot of having to go to Buffalo anyway, in spite of everything that had happened. If you would have done it easier last week, it would have won against the Patriots and not had this. It was torture for sure. It was an awful game. We're talking about horse collar tackles and balls touching the ground and reviews and all that stuff. Whatever it took just to get yourself to eke it out to a 9-6 win. I think the reason probably is it was a terrible game on offense. Nobody has faith in Jason Sanders. I don't think anybody's, had any confidence he was going to make that kick. I don't know. I don't know why. It's interesting that you say the stadium wasn't as pumped up about it, but I feel a lot better than, man. It just feels like a relief, if anything. I guess it's not maybe celebration. It just feels like a relief that they did get to this point and they are going to the playoffs.
Yeah, no, and bottom line, Mike McDaniel in his first year gets to go to a playoffs. And that's something the Dolphins haven't been able to do in the past 2 seasons with Brian Flores. They lost this game each and every time. So no matter how it got done, no matter how ugly it looked, you still have to put it in the proper context. Who was on the field, who wasn't, the amount of injuries. And you still were able to squeak it out against a division rival and arguably the most hated franchise in your organization's history, which is the New York Jets. Like, you can't lose to the Jets and Joe Flacco in 2023 at home to keep you from getting into the playoffs. That as a Dolphins organization, that you can't allow that to happen. And you rode Skyler Thompson to 9 or 11 points today, and you kept it from happening.
Yeah, you can't lose that game, and you can't also be in the spot where it's like you lose your last 3 division games.
Right.
So yeah, man, I think that there just has to be. I think that the Dolphin fan, I get it. It's been a torturous time, and between Tua getting hurt, between the losses, all of that stuff. But you're here. You got here. It's way better to be in there than not. And even, we'll be hoping on hope that maybe you get some good news with QB1 coming up for the playoffs, but you at least got here, man. It doesn't feel like the season was a complete waste. You maybe got here battered and bruised, but you're here. You didn't give it up to the Patriots. They didn't sneak in. You didn't give it up to even Brian. Can you imagine if Brian Flores got in the playoffs and not the Dolphins? It was very close to happening, people. It was very, very close to happening. Very close.
So what are we sending Naheem Hines? Like a fruit basket, edible arrangements? What are we sending him?
I mean, let's send him some Joe Stone crowds. What are the traditionals from Miami? You send him some croquetas, some whatever he wants. I'll send him some half moon empanadas if he wants.
Okay, all right, perfect.
It's but that I tell you what, man, you want to talk about that was maybe the Goosey's moment of the day with them returning the kickoff for Damar Hamlin, right off the bat. That's how the Bills start the game. I mean, that was I think Jim Nantz called it storybook or whatever. That was spot on. That was crazy. What a moment.
That's crazy, man. Yeah, I mean. The kickoff happens here in Miami, and all of a sudden we look up, we have Red Zone on one of the TVs. We're like, wait, 7-0 already? There's 14 seconds into the game. And then we see the replay, and the stadium looked insane, Tobin. Insane.
Oh, yeah. I imagine they had to be going crazy, dude. I imagine it had to be absolutely nuts. And Jason Sanders saying after the game, I was glad to make the kick for the guys. I felt like I owed them one. You certainly did. And I had no faith that you were going to get it done, but you did. You did. And take your little victory lap, Jason Sanders.
You like the McDaniel point? I saw it on the broadcast, just pointing at him as he walked off. Just pointing right at him. Like, I trusted you, bitch. I trusted you the whole time.
I don't think he even trusted himself. We were watching it. So let me tell you, we were here at the Heat game, and like nobody's out at like doing work. Everybody was at in the media dining section watching it on the big screen, and like you just go to Jason Sanders. He looked nervous. Everybody looked nervous, but it's a bit. I tell you, like for probably the 30 people that were there watching, big cheers, big sigh of relief. People here are happy. You're in the postseason. That's what matters. And man, that the defense coming through when they hadn't really all year. They needed to. Mike McDaniel winning a big challenge. Good for him. Happy, man. He should be happy.
First one of the season, baby. 0-5 until that one challenge. It was a great challenge, by the way. Like, credit to him. He finally won one, and it was a great challenge, Tobin.
Yep.
Did you see the picture of Tua and Raheem Mostert in like the tunnel watching the end of the game?
I did. That was Goosey's galore. That was really good.
Yeah.
That was
kind
really
of made me tear up just a little bit. Just a little.
Dude, Mostert's been an animal. I can't believe they lost him in this game. That was disappointing. Tyreek Hill's out there on one leg. Jalen Waddle gets hurt at the game. Teron Armstead doesn't start. It was you really Brandon Shell's falling by the wayside. Just everybody is just done. Nobody has anything left, except for the tight ends who never get the football. But it's they're here. Like that's all I can say. I don't really have a lot of. I think everybody should just be like, we're gonna get to watch some playoff football next week. If they don't have their quarterback, they're screwed. If they do, we just saw this game, Solana.
Yeah. No, you're right. And you had an 8-point lead in the fourth quarter. Right? You had an 8-point lead in the fourth quarter. So, but I mean, we can talk about it later this week, but my gut is telling me Tua's not playing that game. I don't want to get my hopes up with Tua Tagovailoa, Tobin, just because he's not even practicing yet. And anytime you ask Coach McDaniel about it, he refuses to comment with any sort of real update. So I don't want to get excited about that.
Yeah, I don't think he's allowed to, though. That's something. But man, like it is. They're obviously going to be very amped up and things like that. But it's for them to be here with all the adversity that they had there at the end of the year. Yes, they should have taken care of business a lot earlier. Granted, we've covered all of that. But you're talking about, people were talking this week about people's jobs being on the line. With people going to get fired. Getting to the playoffs, I think, eases a lot. Even for a guy like Josh Boyer, like, okay, you know what? You got here. Maybe that still end up being a change by the end of the year, but, at least it doesn't feel like now a fall guy has to be blamed. You can just say, you got here, and you did have some bad circumstances, but bad circumstances be damned. You're still in the postseason for the first time in 6 years.
Yeah. Yeah, and bro, give Boyer credit today. I mean, I know the Jets haven't scored a touchdown in like 12 games offensively, but give Boyer credit. I mean, they hold the Jets to 6 points today. The defense, there was zero complaints about the defense today. They gave up maybe 2 or 3 like big plays, but they made every stop that they needed to, and they came up huge, man. Like Christian Wilkins, Melvin Ingram, just putting pressure on Joe Flacco the whole game. Christian Wilkins, Tobin, is an absolute monster, like a ridiculous monster.
By the way, I should say they won 11-6. I think I started the podcast saying 9-6. I completely forgot about the end of game safety. Just for good measure. You got to cover, dude. You got to make sure. Got to make people happy.
11-6. That's totally right. I forgot about it too. It was kind of weird too because like the referee called it, but they were already celebrating anyways.
Yeah, I didn't. Well, people who bet on it care.
Yeah, very true. Hey, what about Wilson and Mostert today? 72 yards, 71 yards. McDaniel basically came in and told Skyler, don't throw a pick, throw the ball away every chance you get, and we're going to run the ball as much as we possibly can. And it was a perfect game plan considering your defense was able to do what they were able to do tonight.
They were great. And I thought that Mostert's just it's unfortunate that a lot of his best performances seem like they've come in losses, but I feel like he's really turned it up these last 5 weeks, and like the kind of breaking of tackles that he's gone through. It's good to feel like that's an established weapon even going into this week against Buffalo, because if they don't have Tua, that's certainly going to have to be what they lean on, because Skyler Thompson, or maybe they go with Teddy if Teddy looks a little healthier and feels a little bit healthier. But yeah, Skyler, it's crazy to see genuine panic on somebody while watching a professional sporting event. He looked so nervous every time he dropped back. He didn't look like he knew like he seemed frozen. The guy that we saw in the preseason be so free and easy and willing and just chucking it up, that guy is gone. This guy is like, he's so shook on what to do. But he threw up some Solana. That one he threw up to Gesicki, I was so scared.
Was that to Gesicki?
I mean, it went to Gesicki.
Was it intended for Gesicki?
Oh, I don't know.
That's what I want to know. I want to know.
It was something. It was.
What about the heady play from McDaniel? Start Ezukama for the first time this season. Remember,
yes.
Easy E and Skyler tore it up in the preseason, and go to him right away. Try to get something going there for Skyler, and then never went to him ever again.
Nope. But anyway, look, I know you got to get going to your Heat stuff. We'll dive more maybe into it tomorrow or Tuesday. Yeah. We'll get into some more Porpoise pod for everybody, but we want to obviously have some reaction for you guys here. Dolphins going to the postseason. They beat the Jets 11-6. They'll be taking on the Buffalo Bills next week in the wild card round. We're porping it, people.